Hey everybody, welcome back to Freckles and Blondie. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Randy.
And today we are studying the 17th episode of Lost. In translation.
So clever.
I know, those writers must have thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, they must have thought they were so smart.
Those writers are Javier, man, I was just going to say it real smooth and then I got all sidetracked. Javier Grillo Marxwatch.
Yeah.
And Leonard Dick. Javier also wrote House of the Rising Sun and a few other episodes that we've seen so far. He'll go on to write 3 more, and this is Leonard's first, but he will write 5 more episodes, mostly co-writes. It was directed by Tucker Gates, who will also do a few more episodes here and there. I'm surprised by how many writers and directors they have who just kind of pop in and do 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It seems so cohesive. I think we have noticed a couple episodes that kind of jumped out at us as being a little different or off. But yeah, overall super cohesive, and I'm just surprised that more of these people aren't going to be sticking with us for very long.
Yeah, they have a lot of confidence for it being only the first season of this show.
Yeah. I always heard, and I don't know, this could be 0% true. I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard that the writers in season 1 were just, backstory was all they cared about. And before they even started the show, they just were plotting out the characters and giving them backstories just for fun, not thinking that that would turn into the story. But their backstories became so good and so complicated that wound up taking over and becoming the story.
You know, that makes a lot of sense, because I feel as the seasons go on, the stuff that's happening on the island becomes more, a bigger part of the show, becomes more important.
Mm-hmm.
And also, some of the stuff that's going on in the island, when I was writing my notes for this episode, at one point I was just what happened to the hatch? We haven't heard about that in weeks, it feels like. So
yeah, that's so true. And we see Boone and Locke in this episode just kind of hanging around.
Right. It's just kind of bizarre. It's like you said, it's almost like they were focusing more on the backstories. So,
and I think that's why I love season 1. It's by far my favorite season because I love characters and character development.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm always the weirdo who likes the first part of everything. Everybody loves Empire Strikes Back, but I love the first Star Wars.
That is strange.
I know, but I just love meeting these people, and it's a really simple story, the first part of Star Wars, but it's so good. It's A New Hope, not part 1. I keep saying the first one, but A New Hope. It's just, you meet the characters, and all it is really learning who they are. It's my jam.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel Lost always stands out for me because on a lot of my favorite shows, the first season is usually my least favorite.
Yeah, that's so true. I abandoned so many shows because the first season's not good enough.
Right. Yeah, I have too.
Gotta keep those standards high. There's too much TV out there.
I know. There's too many options.
So I polled some people on Instagram.
Yay.
I polled people about a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I'm getting crazy with the new polling option on Instagram. But so first of all, backtracking 2 episodes ago.
Okay.
I asked how many people would also have killed Ethan like Charlie did. Because you said that you would, and I said that I would not.
Right.
So I was wondering what most people thought. 62% of people said that they would also kill Ethan.
Wow, that's kind of surprising.
Isn't that surprising?
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe we have a really dark listener base.
So savage. I'm into it.
Exactly. So you can be the captain of that army.
Awesome. Sounds good to me.
And then the other thing that I asked people was, in our last episode, you and I named our favorite scenes. And I said that I liked the drinking game with Kate and Sawyer. And you liked the bar chat with Christian and Sawyer.
Yes.
And that one is really interesting because it's completely neck and neck.
Really?
I checked it right before we started recording this, and it was 51% in favor of Christian and Sawyer.
Wow. So like super close. That's very interesting.
I know. That also kind of surprised me. In my own bias, I thought that the Kate and Sawyer scene was the greatest thing ever, and everybody would agree with me.
Well, yeah, I would have thought that would have been more popular with everyone, but interesting. Okay.
People are fascinating.
I feel vindicated in my choices now, so thanks, guys.
Yeah. Everybody agrees with you. What the heck? Honestly, most of our feedback, everybody agrees with you.
I find that hard to believe, but okay.
It's true.
Really?
Maybe people just know that I'm the one running Instagram and they feel the need to tell me that they agree with you.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
So if you voted, thank you for participating. It's super fun for us to see how your perspectives are aligning with ours. Clearly not at all with mine.
Yeah, keep those opinions coming.
Randy needs all the validation.
I really do. I'm very needy like that.
Right. Or for like a change of pace, you could agree with me. That would be cool too. So how did you like this episode with Jen?
I love this episode.
Really?
Yeah, did you not like it?
No, I did, but for some reason I felt like you weren't going to.
Oh no, I've always loved this episode. It's just like, I mean, I know a lot of the episodes in season 1 are very strong, but this one it just feels like it's good writing, directing feels good, the acting's amazing, the story, it's another one of those episodes like Homecoming where it didn't feel like 45 minutes. It just flew by.
Yeah, it's really, really strong. I completely agree. Everything feels really tight.
Yeah.
You know? Like there's not a lot of fluff. Everything matters.
Right.
And yet we still, like we're getting a solid story on Jen, which is really, I love the way they do Jen's story here because it's just the flip side to Sun's story, really.
Right. And yet it still manages to be so interesting.
Yeah. And it feels really fresh and new, even though it's kind of the same thing. It's just really good. And it connects really well with what's happening on the island.
Yeah. And like, there's a lot of big things happening on the island, but I feel like we still get a lot of scenes with just one or two characters that are just really nice, quick moments. Mm-hmm. It just blends together really well, I think.
Yeah, that's really true. Because we don't get a ton of Michael and Walt, but what we get is really great.
Yeah.
Or any of them, really. I like Jack in this episode.
Oh. What? Wow.
I mean, it's not in it a lot, but...
Don't ruin it, Tiffany.
I'm noticing a theme. When I like Jack, he's usually not in it too much.
Okay. I have some problems with Sawyer in this episode, but, I mean, they're not huge problems, I don't think.
Yeah, I would say it's not my favorite Sawyer, but, you know, I'm okay with it.
Of course you are. Of course.
We'll talk about it. I figured, though, when I saw it, I was like, Randy's not going to like this.
Nope. Really didn't.
Okay, let's jump in.
Yep, let's do it.
We open on Jin's eye, because we just do that now.
Right.
He's watching the waves crash when we flash back. Jin is standing in Sun's father's office, and he's asking permission to marry her. Mr. Pike wants to know why he should agree to this. Jin says he may be from a fishing village, but he has ambitions to open his own restaurant, to own his own hotel. Mr. Pike asks what Jin's father thinks of the marriage, and Jin replies that his father is dead. Mr. Pike asks what Jin would do for Sun, and he says anything. He asks if Jin would work for him. When Jin says yes, he asks why he should give his daughter to a man who gives up his dreams so easily. Jin, smooth as a mother, says Sun is his dream. Boom. Mic drop.
I love that line. So good.
It is so good. Jin is like the most romantic guy on this island.
He really is. Oh, breaks my heart a little bit.
It does. It so breaks your heart because he is perceived so differently from the way he seems in these flashbacks.
Yeah.
By Sun, too.
That's a good point.
Like, I think she thinks that this version of Jin is just gone. I think she saw it at one point, but has kind of given up on it, which is really sad.
It is sad because it's still like the person he really is, the good person, is still there underneath everything.
Yeah, I like this scene a lot though. And Sun's father is so scary.
Yeah, he's very scary. Just adding it to the list of fathers who suck in this show.
Yeah, that's pretty much the theme of Lost.
Yeah.
How to move on when your dad is a jerk.
Right. It did feel very abrupt, though, the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, I think that Jen standing there watching the waves crash is kind of meant to be the transition into this, but you're right, like it's still really sudden, and it feels almost like they forced that into the beginning because it feels so sudden, and they needed to kind of smooth it out a little bit.
Yeah. I don't hate it, but when I started this episode, I was like, oh no, did I somehow skip to the beginning? What's happening?
Yeah, we just start right in it, man. I remember when I was writing my notes, I had like 10 paragraphs and we got to the credits and I was like, oh my goodness. It's gonna be one of those episodes.
Yeah.
On the island, Jin sees Sun in a bathing suit and he rushes to cover her with a blanket. Everyone else watches uncomfortably, and when Sun falls down, Michael intervenes, telling Jin to take his hands off her. He pushes Jin away and yells at him, but Sun slaps Michael in anger. She and Jin walk away together. This scene is incredibly tense.
Yes, very true.
I think it's more so because we don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, although I feel like you kind of get the gist of it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you definitely do, but like something about not knowing exactly what they're saying makes it worse because, and this is the perception of everybody else on the island, Jin could be saying the most horrible, cruel things to Sun, and we just don't know.
Right.
Like, he could just be like, you know, you should have a blanket on you, like, you could be worried she's gonna get sunburned. I mean, we know that's not true, but, but like, it could be anything. But I think everyone's gonna perceive this in the worst possible way that their brain can imagine.
Well, yeah, because Jin doesn't have a great track record at this point.
No.
I wonder if Michael should have gotten involved here.
Yeah. I think definitely no. I mean, it would be one thing if Jin was actually hurting Sun, but they're just having an argument.
Yeah, I think you should have stayed out of it, for sure.
I like how she slaps Michael, and then they turn and they walk away together, and you're like, oh, okay, unified front. And then Jen tries to take her hand, and she, like, pushes him away, like, heck no, I'm still mad at you.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Sun does a lot of slapping in this episode. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's a very stressful episode for Sun.
It is. Are we okay with this? I
With
feel like I should question it. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's justified.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's hard to remember she slaps a lot of people in this episode because there are other parts of this episode that are so violent.
Yeah.
So that's kind of more...
Well, and I think I'm filling in some from House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
Because the scene with her and Jin in the bathroom is in both episodes, and she slaps him in that scene, so I guess I think she's done it twice.
Right.
But she only did it once.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It stands out to me because I don't feel like I see any other character who, like, hits people. Not like that. Maybe no other female character.
Yeah, I'd say that's true at this point.
Jin stares at his watch and asks Sun what's going on between her and Michael. She tells him that's ridiculous and nothing is going on. Back in Korea, it's Sun and Jin's wedding day, and they are blissful and in love. Sun remarks that she wishes Jin's father were still alive so he could be here to share in their joy. Jin says he knows his father is proud of him anyway. Sun asks about their honeymoon, but Jin wants Mr. Pike to see him as committed. He says they'll go in 6 months. Sun doesn't see why her father's car company is so important. Jin places a flower in her hair and promises that she'll have the honeymoon of her dreams in 6 months.
They're just so cute.
I know, they're so sweet. I love when we see them happy. It's a reminder of what they're fighting for.
Yeah, it also just makes you think, how could things have gone so wrong for them?
Yeah. Sometimes I just want them to break up, you know? Sometimes I see Sun trying really hard and being frustrated, and I'm like, just leave him. He's being so annoying and rude to you.
Right.
But then a scene like this, you're like, that's why she doesn't.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. The way they're able to play with that back and forth, it's very interesting. I've always found that interesting about their relationship.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how many people are in a bad relationship just thinking about these times that they used to have and the way they used to be.
Right. And it's totally understandable.
Yeah, I can completely understand it. I am totally sympathetic to Sun and Jin in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
On the island, Sun approaches Michael and apologizes for slapping him. Michael says he understands, and Sun says that when she slapped him, she was protecting him from Jin. He doesn't realize what he's capable of. Jin is on the golf course, and since he and Hurley have now bonded over their sea urchin fiasco, Hurley approaches him with some fishing poles, saying Jin probably needs to relax. Jin looks at him and continues hitting the golf ball. Hurley says, "I tried," and walks away.
I love that he tried. I love Hurley.
I love that he tried, and it didn't even work out. You
know,
like, Hurley doesn't, he's always gonna try.
Right.
He's always gonna try to help people.
Yeah. They're lucky they have Hurley on the island, I think.
They so are. Everybody needs a Hurley.
Exactly. Exactly.
Shannon is tying a pretty sweet knot as she helps build the raft. Saeed jokes about her past in the Navy and how he worries about her future as a spinster at home alone on Saturday night tying perfect knots. They are super flirty and dang cute. Shannon says maybe Saeed should join her for a Saturday night together with some rope because girl is A-game with her flirting.
Yeah, well, it's not hard when you're that beautiful. I mean, you don't have to do much.
Extra credit.
Yeah.
She's working hard. How do you feel about this scene, Randy?
Okay. I actually really like this scene.
What?
To my complete surprise. Because
so
as I've
funny.
stated on this podcast before, I've never been a huge fan of them. I don't really get them. But I think they work really well together in this scene.
It's so funny. I do too.
Do you?
Yeah, I love this scene. I think it's really cute. And yeah, they bounce off each other really well. And I love that, you know, we're not talking about it, but Shannon is just helping Michael with the raft, like by herself, you know, not needing Boone's help, not needing Saeed's help.
Is she helping with the raft?
Yeah, that's what she's tying knots for.
I thought she was like building her shelter. A new shelter for herself.
I thought it was the raft. Oh. I know later it is the shelter.
I thought it was the same thing. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't know now. But either way, she's doing a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the raft is in a totally different location. So it would, I mean, maybe she is working on the raft. I don't know.
I think I saw like lots of wood and just assumed it was the raft. And in the previous episode or the one before that, she talked about wanting to help build the raft. So I just kind of like connected those dots, but it could not be.
I never really believed she was going to help build that raft. So.
See, I'm just like, of course she is. She's like little Miss Independent now.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's down to the fact that it's down to Shannon. Like she's not being annoying or immature or needy or some of the things she's, you know, like what her character's been built up to be at this point. She's
not whining.
Exactly. So when she's not whining, they work really well together.
Yeah, there's something about her in this episode that is a lot more charming than she's been in the past. She seems a lot sweeter and just like more earnest. Like the way she smiles, like I don't even know if I'm like reading too much into this now that I say it out loud. But it's like she's smiling so much, like, and not in like a nasty way, like sometimes she would in the past. Like before it was kind of like a smirky thing, but she's just like genuinely happy in a lot of these scenes.
Right. She doesn't seem like she's manipulating Saeed for anything. She's not laying around tanning or complaining.
Right.
So I like this new version of her. I hope it continues.
I hope so too. I hope you continue to enjoy Shannon Saeed.
We'll see. I was completely surprised after I watched that scene. I was like, wow.
Michael tells Walt how much he's going to love New York. The buildings, the architecture. He asks Walt if he's excited to see it, and Walt says, I guess, and asks if he can go play with Vincent. The two run off to play as Jack approaches, complimenting the raft. Jack says everyone is talking about who is going to go on the raft with Michael. Michael says there are only 4 spots. 1 for him, Walt, Sawyer, and 1 more. Jack cannot believe that Michael is going to take Sawyer, but Sawyer approaches and says he bought himself a ticket. Of course, Michael needed parts for the raft, and Sawyer had them. Jack looks super not happy.
It's ridiculous.
He found his island currency, and it's serving him well.
It just seems selfish.
Yeah, I think that, your problem, and, a totally reasonable problem that a lot of people have with Sawyer, is that his selfishness pays off. Him taking these things that were never really his in the beginning, it serves him well. He gets a lot out of it, and he gets this spot on the raft and so many other things. And I think people don't like to see bad actions be rewarded.
Yeah, it's completely unearned. I would also argue that, I don't think he always gets rewarded for his actions. I feel like
no,
a lot of the times, people, he antagonizes so many people, so that's not great. But it's just, I can't imagine any other guy on this island just buying their way on without having a conversation first. Like, am I really the best person to be on this raft? What about, any of the other people? What about Claire, who's pregnant? I guarantee you Sawyer didn't think about any of that, and he just thinks about himself, and it's very annoying.
I guarantee that you're right. It's Lord of the Flies time.
God, what a jerk.
At the caves, Kate and Sun are having a talk. Kate wants to know how long Sun's going to let Jen treat her like this. How long she'll be afraid to tell him that she speaks English. Sun says he wasn't always like this, that he used to be tender. Kate asks what changed him, but they're distracted by shouts as everyone runs to the raft. It's on fire. Michael immediately turns to Sun, asking where Jen is. He's extremely upset, saying he's going to break his damn neck for this. Walt looks very upset and starts throwing sand at the fire. Kate and Jack intervene and push Michael off of Sun, and she walks away. Everyone seems to think it was Jen.
Yeah, this is intense.
It is. I remember being so shocked by this when I first saw it.
Yeah, me too. It's a huge fire that's going on.
It's huge, and the raft is kind of this plot that's been slowly building in the background. And as we see it in this episode, it's looking really good. And it's looking like, wow, there might actually be some new thing for them to do now because they're going to set sail on this raft.
Yeah, they shouldn't call it a raft. It's like a mini boat almost. It's massive.
Yeah, it's an amazing freaking raft.
Right. It almost looks unrealistic. So I'm like, how did they do all this with no tools?
Yeah.
I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah. I would imagine there would be some tools on the plane just in case something happened to the plane, right?
Yeah, that's probably true. I guess I'm thinking more it looks like they would need electrical tools to put that thing together, which obviously they don't have. But
it is super fancy.
Yeah. What do I know about raft building? Nothing. But yeah, I like that there's a shot when everyone's running to put out the fire. There's just this really quick shot of Locke kind of looking at everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's so quick, but I love that they put that in there. It's really well done.
Yeah, it is a really great moment. That shot is probably the sole reason that when I first saw this, I was convinced that it was Locke.
Oh, I was too. Absolutely.
It's funny because I asked, told you I asked people so many questions on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I asked people what they thought about this raft burning and finding out that Walt was the one who did it. And a lot of people were completely shocked and mentioning that they thought it was the others from the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, I was really surprised because I don't know. I guess I just didn't when I first saw it for the first time, I didn't think about there being, I guess we shouldn't be talking about the others. Jeez.
No, but Locke mentions it later on, so it does make sense that that would be like a logical explanation for this, but I also never thought it was the others who did it.
Yeah. Because I just, like, Ethan's dead, so it just doesn't even occur to me that there's, like, more going on.
Right. Or it's like, if more people had started disappearing like Claire, that would have been like, oh, of course it's the others. But burning the raft, it's like, what's the point? you know?
Yeah. One person said it could only have been Walt because he's just like his father. I thought that was so funny.
Damn, that is hard. Oh, I love that.
So great. You made that comment. You made our day.
Yeah, you really did.
Sun runs back to the caves to find Jin, and he is hurt. Sun is surprised, thinking that this means Jin did set the fire. She says Michael is just trying to get them off the island. But at the mention of Michael, Jim storms... Jim
Halpert from The Office?
Yes, he storms over to Pam's desk. And they have a good laugh. Jin storms away. I don't really like this because I don't like that Sun just sees that Jin is hurt and assumes he set the fire.
Yeah, I don't like it either. And it's not like she starts yelling at him about it immediately, but she could have at least asked him, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you just ask him? Like later she's like, why didn't you just say that you didn't burn it? Well, why didn't you just ask him?
Right. I feel like it's a direct reflection of all the problems they seem to be having lately.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if they were in a better place in their relationship, she wouldn't have jumped to that conclusion so quickly.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that it reminded me of Sawyer with the inhaler.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, well, why didn't you just say you didn't have it? And nobody asked, you know?
It is very similar. And it's also, I mean, the fact that Jin can't speak English and can't really defend himself, you know.
So much harder.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the problem with this scene for me is that this is Sun. This is the one person who should ask him, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't love that everybody leaps to the conclusion that Jin must have done this, but it's a little more understandable for them who can't really ask him about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, they have a horrible perception of Jin. They rightfully don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still no, like, evidence that he actually did this.
Right.
You would think, like, at least one person would be like, well, maybe he didn't do it.
Yeah. And I feel like Jack says that later, but everyone else is just kind of content to let it happen. It's kind of crazy.
It is. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It gets weirder.
Yeah.
In a flashback, Jin is being promoted by Mr. Pike to his new assistant. He wants Jin to go to the house of Byung-hang. I don't know exactly how to say that, but we're going to call him Mr. Han from here on out.
Sounds good to me.
The Secretary for Environmental Safety. He's supposed to deliver the message that he is not pleased. Jin arrives at his house and tells Mr. Han that he works for Mr. Pike. When he says he's here to deliver a message, Mr. Han says, please, not in front of my daughter. Jin is confused and tells him that Mr. Pike is displeased. When he says that's all, Mr. Han thanks him and looks incredibly grateful, saying he needs a way to thank him. He takes his dog from his daughter, saying it's a championship breed, and he hands it to Jin, saying it's a gift of thanks for Mr. Pike. I love Jin's total innocence in this scene.
Yeah, me too.
It's so sweet and sad. And the super careful viewers will see Hurley on the TV in the background.
Yeah, I wonder what he was doing.
Sure, it's not a reference to anything.
Sure, we won't find out next week.
Yes! It's gonna be so great.
I know. But yeah, I feel like I kind of get everything I need to know about Sun's father from this scene.
Yeah.
Just the fact that, what's that guy's name? Mr. Han is so scared when Jin comes to deliver the message. And then he, gives him his dog when Jin just delivers a verbal message. It's like, wow, that is intimidating.
Yeah, he's absolutely terrified. Which means Mr. Pike either has a super scary reputation or this has happened to him before.
Yeah.
Either way, bad.
Very bad.
Not good.
We give so many deep insights on Freckles and Blondie.
Exactly.
Not good, guys.
We're here to tell you the important stuff.
Yeah.
And
The
this
stuff
is bad.
you can never figure out on your own.
Saeed approaches Boone, who is building a fire. He says that he and Shannon may soon become more than just friends, and he hopes that Boone won't object. Boone is pretty pissy about it, as expected. And Saeed says that he was extending a courtesy, not asking permission. As he walks away, Boone says he'll tell Saeed about his sister. She likes older guys who can take care of her, and here on the island, Saeed totally fits the bill. He says she'll make you feel great until she gets what she wants, and then she'll move on. He warns Saeed not to take it too personally when that happens. Freaking Boone.
Yeah. This scene is weird to me.
Yeah? How so?
I don't know, just the way that, I guess props to Saeed for even coming over to Boone in the first place and asking, for his blessing. Not really, but kind of. Like, if I was Saeed, I would just be like, I don't need to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, I probably would too.
But even though I don't really like Boone in this scene, I feel like he kind of sums up, at least for me, one of my main problems with Shannon and Saeed. Shannon, at least as she's been shown up until this point, kind of uses people, especially guys, to, get what she wants. Like, she used Boone that way, she used Charlie that way to an extent, so I know she has this deeper side that, is trying to come out, but I really struggle to see it sometimes, so.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a side to her that is that way. But I think there are a lot of people who are kind of, I don't want to say dependent, but that's kind of what I mean. Like, some people do want that, protector figure around who's gonna, help them. And I don't think that that's super unusual. And there's definitely, going too far in the way that she, manipulated Boone.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. It's hard to talk about Shannon for me because I feel like so much of what we know about her is through Boone's eyes. And I see her more through the episodes we're going to get about Shannon later.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to disconnect that. And I feel like all of season 1, it's just Boone's perspective on Shannon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember what we get on her later, so I could be forgetting a lot of important things.
I don't think it's a lot. I just think it informs a lot of her decisions. I just think Boone is incredibly biased. That's my bottom line, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Boone is biased, but I feel like we could, look back on a lot of the scenes that Shannon has had throughout this first season, and she's just kind of been a one-dimensional character up until this point. She's kind of used as a comic relief. She's just the privileged, kind of annoying young girl.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe that's why I like her with Saeed so much, because I think those are the moments when she's not that girl, or she starts to become less of that girl.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see that now, but I feel like when they first put them together, I was like, this makes zero sense.
Right.
So.
And I can see what you mean. I think, you're right, and that is kind of who she is. I just don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to want someone who will take care of you. I think a lot of people want that.
Yeah, I guess.
And don't want it to be one-sided, but it doesn't seem like it's any burden, to Saeed in this situation. He seems just as enchanted with her.
I guess.
Something about it still irks you.
Yeah, it really does. I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But I guess just the thought of finding someone to take care of you in situations like this is, I don't know. Something about it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Well, you're just a really independent person, so it bothers you.
I guess.
Yeah. So the only thing that kind of bothers me in this scene is that I wish that Boone were, I thought he'd kind of moved on from this.
Yeah.
I thought that was his revelation with Locke, and he claims to know Shannon so well, but he isn't seeing, how happy she is around Saeed, and he's not seeing, how she's growing lately. So all my issues are with Boone, of course.
No, it's true though, because I wasn't a huge fan of that Hearts and Minds episode anyway, because it was so crazy, but we talked about that episode. At the end, it does seem like Boone has this revelation and he's kind of grows as a character. But this scene makes me think he didn't learn anything from that. You know?
Yeah, and I feel like even like the next couple episodes, he was just off doing his own thing. Like, okay, I'm just gonna move on from this weird obsession with Shannon.
Right.
But nope, now we're right back to it. He doesn't want Shannon to have any like romantic thing going on with anyone else. It's sad.
Yeah, it's just frustrating.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's an inconsistency in the writing or just Boone reverting back to his old ways.
I don't know either. Could be either one.
I guess we'll see more as it continues. Hopefully he just freaking chills out.
Get your stuff together, Boone.
Yeah, Jesus. Not that hard.
Yeah.
Just ignore her.
I know.
Go dig up the hatch. Jin has spent the night alone in the jungle. He wakes and suddenly Sawyer appears, saying that Jin messed up his ride. He kicks him and we cut away. My first thought here was amazement that Sawyer tracked him down.
Yeah, especially considering his tracking skills in the last episode.
Yeah. How did this happen?
I don't know. I have real problems with this. Don't like it.
Yeah, I figured you just kind of would be off-put by his demeanor in general with Jin.
Yeah, I hate it. It's just so, again, I mean, I don't know. Like, they don't know that it was Jin. So for Sawyer to, I guess we'll get into it more later, but for him to come, just kick him and knock him out and tie him up, it's so unnecessary.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why him running away makes them think he's guilty even more, and so they want to bring him back. But I have problems with what they do later more than this.
Yeah. But I mean, it feels like Sawyer starts this whole thing. Maybe it would have gone differently if Michael had just gone after Jin by himself. But the way Sawyer, like, brings Jin to Michael like a prisoner, especially when he can't speak English and really defend himself at all, is so ridiculous. Like, Sawyer, I feel like this is not Sawyer's responsibility. I know he had a place on the raft, but he really should have just let Michael handle this. Maybe Michael would have done something similar, but it wasn't right for Sawyer to do this, in my opinion.
See, I just feel like everyone had the consensus that it was Jin, and they were like, someone needs to go get him. And Sawyer did. I don't think it matters really, like, who went to go get him. They all wanted him there. You know, they wanted to interrogate him, kind of, even though he can't understand them. That's the whole, like, crux of this issue, is that Jen doesn't understand them.
Right.
I feel like maybe they should have focused their attention on Sun more than anything. Actually, no, because they don't know Sun speaks English yet. But Michael does.
And so does Kate.
Yeah. It's complicated.
Yeah. I don't like it.
Yeah. Shannon is hanging up tarp for her tent, but the wind knocks it down. Saeed approaches, and she is eager for his help. He says she seemed to be doing just fine. He tells her she is very capable and could certainly do it on her own, as he helps her. Shannon looks at him, noticing that he's acting strangely, and asks what's going on. Saeed says maybe someone else should help her with her tent. Shannon immediately knows that he's been speaking with Boone, and she ain't happy about it.
No, she's not.
In her search for her brother, Shannon finds Locke instead, mid-gutting an animal.
Of course.
You know. She asks him where Boone is, and Locke says he doesn't know. She says that if he does see his jungle pal, tell him to keep his mouth shut and stay out of her business. Locke asks if she likes Saeed. He says that if she does, it has nothing to do with Boone. And if she yells at Boone, it just gives him what he wants. Her attention. He reminds her that everyone gets a new life on this island, so maybe it's time for her to start hers.
Once again, Locke, the island's Yoda, or whatever you want to call him, just doling out wisdom to people who happen to wander past.
The spiritual advisor.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be, like, music when he talks. Like, ah.
Exactly. He should have, like, designated office hours or something where people can come by and get their advice.
Yes, I'm having visions of Lucy from the Peanuts. Yeah. 5 cents for advice.
Yeah.
And he's right. He's very accurate. and the things he wants people to do. That's what she needs to do, and that's what will help her and Boone to just freaking move on from all this nonsense.
Right. He's essentially telling her, you need to grow up and get a move on.
Yeah, just do what you want. Who cares what Boone thinks?
Right. This also makes me think, like we were just talking about before, if Locke's thinking like, damn, well, my little experiment with Boone apparently didn't go as well as I hoped it would.
He should be very disappointed.
He should. This is all his fault.
Sawyer is leading Jin back to camp, taunting him and trying to scare him. Eventually, he holds up a knife and says, "It's Lord of the Flies time." This is what you hate, right?
Yeah, I really do.
It's bad guy Sawyer persona that you hate.
Yeah, but it's like that is an essential part of his character, and it's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many sides to him, but this is a big side.
Yeah, and this season, I feel like this is his biggest side, so...
yeah.
Oh, it irks me more than I can describe.
See, I don't even feel like it's his biggest side because, like in this season, because I can't think of any other episode where he was quite this malevolent. I feel like he's really dark in these scenes compared to normal where he's more just like sarcastic and kind of annoying.
Yeah, I might say got dark in Confidence Man, but he was being tortured in that episode, so I guess it's a little different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really dark. It's just not the way you go about this.
Also, Lord of the Flies is super relevant. Have you read that?
No, but I know what it's about.
Yeah. For anyone who hasn't, it is about these boys who have crash landed on an island, and you know, they go through a lot of the things that these guys here in Lost go through. And there's even this scary, mysterious monster that they're all afraid of. And they're always arguing over whether the monster's real, does it exist or not. They're always arguing over who should be in charge, how they should live, whether it should be more civilized. But of course, savagery kind of takes over and they just become horrible to each other. And ultimately, they realize that the monster isn't really a monster. It's the darkness that exists inside all of them.
I need to read that.
That's your Cliff Notes version of Lord of the Flies. I haven't actually read it, but I saw the play.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I took my students there when I was a teacher for a very brief stint.
That's cool.
Yes, it was fun. It's an interesting play. It's good. It's good for discussion, just like Lost.
Yeah.
But man, the parallels to this show are just crazy connected.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a monster in that book. That's interesting.
Yeah, and it's like this dark, mysterious thing that they don't really understand or know like what it is. It's just like this monster. It's so fascinating. It almost feels like plagiarism at this point.
Yeah.
But all the better for Sawyer to call it out. In a flashback, Sun has made Jin a fancy feast of a meal. They are both pleased, and Sun has clearly been missing Jin lately. His phone rings, but he agrees not to answer it. She's happy, but then the phone rings again. This time, Jin picks it up. Mr. Pike says that he's losing millions because Jin failed to deliver his message. He says Jin will deliver his associate to the house and learn how to truly deliver a message. In the car, Mr. Pike's associate puts on gloves and instructs Jin to keep the car running, and when they leave, to drive the speed limit to a nearby riverbank. When they arrive, it's Jin who kicks down the door and begins punching Mr. Han in the face violently. The man's wife and daughter watch on, horrified, and Jin whispers in the man's ear that he just saved his life. He looks at the little girl and walks out, telling Mr. Pike's associate that the message was received. The associate puts away his gun and follows Jin. I wish I had a name for this guy. I feel weird calling him the associate.
I know.
But yeah, it is so surprising when you see Jin bust down the door and start doing the punching.
Yeah, it's so violent and sudden.
I've seen this before, and yet even still this time I backtracked to watch it again and think, wait, why is Jin doing this? Why isn't the other guy doing it?
Right.
Because I didn't pick up on those details that were going on in the car where Jin is realizing that this guy is going to kill him. That's why they're going to a riverbank.
Mm-hmm.
Jin is smart. Smart and selfless, because this is a brave thing for him to do, as horrible as it is.
Yeah, and like, what other choice did he have, really?
Yeah. I mean, he could be complacent, and a lot of people would be. A good guy would step up and do this because it's the best he can do in this situation.
Yeah, and he does it without any hesitation.
I guess you could say that Jin could maybe, like, attack the associate instead. That's the only other thing I can think he might be able to do at this point.
Yeah.
But that guy's got a gun, and Jin probably does not.
Right, and then that would get back to Mr. Pike, Sun's father.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, Jin is trying to keep all of this as far away from Sun as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I was thinking about. Like, why does he get so deep in this? Why doesn't he just tell Sun, this is not good, like, we need to get out of here? You know, because that's what I want him to do. I want him to just be honest with her and then to be like, okay, let's run away together, you know? Go live happily ever after. But I think he's preserving her innocence, and he just doesn't want her to know the things her father does.
Yeah, like you said before, it's completely selfless.
Yeah. When he gets home, Jin is covered in blood, and Sun is very worried, asking lots of questions. Jin says he was working. Sun asks what he does for her father, and Jin refuses to look at her. He pushes her away, and she slaps him. He tells her he does whatever her father tells him to. I do it for us, he says. They both look unhappy as Sun leaves, and Jin's hands begin to shake uncontrollably as he cries. So this is the same scene from House of the Rising Sun, only we get that extra 5 seconds where we see how upset Jin is, how this has taken its toll on him.
Yeah, it's so interesting getting this new perspective, especially when we know what he just went through.
Yeah, I love it.
It's very well done.
So good.
Yeah. And again, I feel like Jin really had no choice from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if he hadn't taken that job offer from Sun's father, maybe he wouldn't have gotten permission to marry Sun at all.
Yeah.
So it's just so sad.
It is. Sawyer and Jin have made it to the beach, and Michael is back to freaking out. Jack is back to asking everyone to calm the F down. Jin is confused and stares at Sun, saying something in Korean to her. Everyone stops to listen, except Michael, who gets really angry all over again, assuming that Jin is insulting him. He punches Jin. When Jack tries to stop him, Sawyer and Saeed say that it's between them, and they have to let them work it out. Walt watches on, looking shocked as his father repeatedly punches Jin in the face. Everyone looks upset, but suddenly Sun can't take it anymore and screams in English to leave him alone. He didn't burn the raft. Everyone is shocked that Sun speaks English, but she ignores them and explains that Jin burnt himself trying to put the fire out. Michael asks why Jin ran if he wasn't guilty. She says he wouldn't lie, that Jin is not a liar. Sawyer points out that she's the one to talk about honesty after dropping this bomb on them, even Jin, who obviously didn't know either. But Locke interjects, saying it makes no sense for Jin to have burnt the raft. He asks why any of them would try to prevent anyone from leaving the island. The undeniable truth is, they have attacked us, he says, pointing to the jungle. He wants everyone to stop pointing the finger at each other. He says, we're not the only people on this island, and we all know it. And then, in true Locke fashion, he walks away as abruptly as he arrived.
Oh, God.
Everyone walks away until Sun and Jin are alone. But when she approaches, he turns away from her and leaves. Whew, this is a big scene.
Yeah, so many things to talk about.
So many things. So are you frustrated with Locke?
Yes.
Really? Why? I feel like Locke is the voice of reason here. Kind of. As much as Locke is ever the voice of reason.
Yeah, I mean, at first, when I watched it this time, I was like, what are his motivations here? And obviously we find out later Walt was the one who burned the raft. He's trying to protect Walt from Michael, I feel like.
Yeah.
But thinking about the fact that Locke previously knocked out Saeed when he was trying to, triangulate the distress call and get more information about the island. Like, it's so hypocritical for Locke to just come in with this big speech about, the others and how they've attacked us. It drives me crazy.
I'm not bothered by it at all, really, because I feel like he is just purely protecting Walt, and he's making a good point. Like, they should stop pointing fingers at each other and start worrying about people who've been, attacking them. But I see what you mean, because there is great irony in Locke talking about why would anyone prevent anyone from leaving the island?
Exactly. Like, so much irony. It's almost comical.
Right. I think I see it more comically, whereas you see it more irritating.
It is, because he's so passionate about it. And like you said, if this had been coming from any other character, it wouldn't bother me so much. But Locke is fascinating, but he's such an untrustworthy character to me.
Right.
Like, I would never go anywhere alone with him, because I would never know what his motivations are, what he's gonna do. He can, like, flip on a dime, and I just don't know about him. So yeah, this really frustrates me.
Yeah. I think he's just so hard to understand that he seems, like, unpredictable.
Yeah.
I mean, I see this all so rooted in his protection of Walt, which feels completely consistent with who he's been so far.
Yeah, that's true.
But there are a lot of things to talk about in this scene. Michael drives me crazy. I find him so annoying in this scene. So irrational. And I understand that he's upset, but, like, everyone's upset, and he just so frustrates me. Just like, did you say something? Like, assuming that Jen is insulting him when he's just like, I think Jen is telling Sun that he didn't burn the raft, right? That's what he's talking.
Yeah, but I mean, the way he's talking, who knows? I can see why you would be frustrated with him. I feel like it doesn't frustrate me as much, because thinking about, everything that happened in House of the Rising Sun, where Jin, tried to kill Michael over a watch.
Yeah.
The fact that and the fact that, it's Michael's raft, it's now burned to the ground. I can, usually, like, his actions would annoy me a lot, but I can kind of see where he's coming from.
That's true. He does have that, like, personal history with Jen.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue I have with this scene is when Jack tries to stop them from fighting, Sawyer and Saeed are like, no, let him do it. And everyone seems perfectly okay with that, except for Jack.
This makes no sense to me.
Right? Like, wouldn't more than just Jack be upset about this? Wouldn't Hurley or Kate or anyone be like, whoa, this is not how we settle our fights?
Any of the people just standing around there. Especially Kate. I feel like she's usually the one to step in at this point and be like, this is insane. Let's all calm the hell down. But
yeah,
everyone looks at Jack like, no, this is happening and you can't do anything about it. I don't really get it.
Is this supposed to be their kind of descent into savagery, like in Lord of the Flies?
Maybe.
Because a very similar thing to this happened early on with Saeed and Sawyer.
Yeah.
And everyone broke that up immediately. And you could say that they were more connected to civilization at that point, and they're starting to kind of unwind.
Right, and you could say they were more sure at that point that Sawyer was guilty. I mean, he wasn't in the end, but they really don't know with Jen. It doesn't look great, but they don't know. So yeah, I would think especially Saeed, after, he tortured Sawyer and then he banished himself, would be like, hey, this turned out really bad a few weeks ago. Let's all just calm down before something awful happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot. This might be my favorite scene in the episode, though. It's such the way they build up that tension, and with Jin, you don't know what Jin is saying to Sun, and everyone's yelling. I think it's well done.
It is. It's really well done. This took like days to shoot because
right.
There's so many things happening.
Right.
We've got all these kind of sneaky shots of Walt looking really upset.
Mm-hmm. It's
great. It is really well done. The only thing that I don't like about it is them agreeing to this fight, but that could be purposeful.
Yeah, you're right. I like it better if I read it that way, the Lord of the Flies way, but
I do too. Otherwise, I just find it inconsistent, especially for Saeed.
Yeah,
but
same.
I don't even just put this on Saeed and Sawyer. I put it on everybody because everybody seems perfectly fine with it except Jack.
Right. He's the only one who speaks up.
And this is why I like Jack in this episode.
Yay!
This is good guy Jack.
Yeah, it is.
I've thought about this good, like, I know we talked about how I don't like good guy characters like Jack, but I don't think that's entirely true. And the reason I say that is because I love Outlander. And Jamie and Claire are both gooder than good. Both the main characters are incredibly good. They're just complicated. So I don't feel like it's the good character I have a problem with. It's just a flat character that I have a problem with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jack is a flat character.
Yeah, I know you don't. I think that's why I have such, like, animosity towards him. It's not, like, it's not that he's so good. Like, cause I like this moment with him being, like, the moral good guy. Like, this is exactly who I want him to be. If he's gonna be the leader of these people, he should be the one to be like, no, this is wrong.
Yeah, they need someone like that, in my opinion, so.
And I think, like, some of the issues I have with him are just his inconsistency where he wavers from that.
Yeah, some of my least favorite moments with Jack are when he's doing the opposite of that, which we'll get a lot later on.
Yeah. Oh, and the end of this scene, when Jin, like, walks away from Jasun, it's just so sad.
Yeah.
That shot is beautiful, too.
It is.
That wide shot of them, like, standing there alone. Ugh.
Yeah. This is, when I think of this episode, I always remember this scene. I remember the first time I saw it, and I wasn't expecting Sun to just start screaming in English. It was very surprising.
Yeah. But it's the perfect moment for this to come out. That's exactly how it would naturally happen.
Yeah, it's really effective.
Because she's needed a catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
Walt watches as Michael continues freaking out about the raft, saying he can't salvage anything. He hits the raft repeatedly and curses over and over. Walt looks very upset, and Michael apologizes, pulling himself together for the sake of his son. He says setbacks are a part of life, and they'll just have to start over and build a better one. Walt asks if he can help, and Michael is thrilled.
I like this character growth for Michael.
Yeah, I do too. Michael feels very, like, all over the place. Like, sometimes he's just the worst father, and, like, this moment is great. But then there's another moment later on where I'm like, the moment where Walt is in the caves, and he's like, Dad's working on the raft, and I'm not allowed to leave the caves. I'm like, why the heck is Michael working on the raft in the middle of the night on the beach?
It's like midnight.
You need to be with your child.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, the way he flip-flops is just very annoying.
Constantly flip-flopping. But I love these moments. I wish he was like this all the time.
Yeah. And again, I like when characters, have arcs and they learn things and reach new heights. So I feel like this is kind of a direct response from everything that happened in Special, you know? So, yeah.
Which makes sense. And it's great. And it's exactly what you want to see these characters do.
Right.
I feel like it also, in a way, kind of justifies Walt's choice to burn the raft.
What?
Like, it works out really well for Walt.
I mean, yeah, he's lucky. I guess we'll talk about this later, but when they finally reveal that it was Walt who burned the raft, I feel concerned for his mental state.
Well, we will talk about that.
Yes, we will.
Back at the caves, Jin is silent treatmenting his wife. These things look so much better when I write them.
I do that all the time.
As he packs his things, Sun is mad, asking why he didn't just say he didn't burn the raft. She asks what she's done to deserve this, why they stopped talking, what happened to them. But Jin just ignores her. Suddenly, in English, she yells after him, I was going to leave you, but you made me think that you still loved me. Jin listens attentively now, not understanding a word, until she says, I want to go back to the beginning. Please, can't we start over?
Yeah, it's sad.
This may be my favorite scene.
Really?
Just purely because Oh, what is her name? The actress who plays Sun.
Yoonjin Kim.
Yes. She's so good. She breaks my heart. I just want to cry watching her cry.
She's amazing in this whole episode.
And clearly says everything emotional in English.
Yeah, it's interesting that she made that choice.
I guess it's just easier knowing he doesn't actually understand her.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to watch, though.
Mm-hmm. We flash back to Jin getting out of his car and approaching a fisherman on his little rowboat. He's emotional, and he asks his father for forgiveness for being ashamed of him. But Jin's dad just hugs him as Jin cries. The two head out on the fishing boat together, and Mr. Kwan asks Jin what Sun is like. He says she's beautiful, intelligent, hard-headed, but they don't talk anymore because he can't tell her about her father. He says in a good world, she would hate her father, not Jin. But Jin's father smiles at him and tells him that it is a good world. Jin says he's only saying that because he doesn't realize what he's done. But Mr. Kwan says he is his son and he will always be proud of him. Jin says, I wish I could start over. And his father tells him he can. There's no responsibility more important than his wife. He tells Jin to let his current delivery for Mr. Pike in Australia and Los Angeles be his last. Then he should walk away, go to America, and save his marriage. On the island, Jin stares at Sun, who has tears running down her face, and tells her it's too late to start over. He walks away, and she cries harder.
This scene between Jin and his father, this is my favorite scene.
Yeah, I'm changing mine. It's this.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Oh,
his
so
father
good.
is wonderful. He's so perfect for this situation.
Yeah, he has such an energy about him that's just so refreshing.
Yes. You can kind of see why Jin is sort of the romantic that he is because of this.
Yeah, and the way they're just able to convey like how emotional it is when Jin steps out of that car and his father sees him. And his father, I mean, he, in a rational world, he should be super angry at Jin, but immediately hugs him, is so happy to see him. Guys, if you haven't watched this scene in a while, just go back and watch this one scene between the two of them. It is lovely.
Yes, he is pure joy.
He is
so beautiful. I love it. He is like the best dad on Lost.
Yes, he is.
Now the competition is not very fierce.
It's not.
But he is definitely the best dad.
I mean, by far. It's just, I want to have a conversation with him, like, when I'm feeling down. And I feel like he would just be able to be like, it's fine. Everything's going to be fine. The world is fine.
Yeah, but if he was really your dad, you'd be like, oh my God, would you stop?
Probably, yeah. But yeah, he just has, like, just unending faith in Jin.
Yeah.
And
it's very sweet.
It's amazing. I watched this scene like 3 times. I love it.
And I love that Jin and Sun were kind of secretly planning to do the exact same thing.
Right. Which makes it even harder.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I understand, though, why after this scene, like, this is clearly what Jin's thinking about in this moment. Like, they use the exact same words about starting over. And his father tells him, you know, he has that chance. He can do that. I don't understand why when we come back to Jin and Sun, Jin says it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, it might be because I feel like it's the whole revelation about Sun speaking English.
Yeah.
And maybe Jin's thinking, well, when did she learn this? Why did she learn this? Was she planning on leaving me? You know, I feel like that's just one too many things.
I guess. I understand feeling betrayed by that, but there is so much that Jin has not told Sun.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He can't expect pure honesty from her if he's not giving it. And she is so honest in this moment and so vulnerable. And he just walks away. And I don't understand. I understand being mad, but this is the moment when you could have all the things that you wanted before and the things that, you know, your father told you could have.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of get it. I feel like he just needs more time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Daniel Day-Kim is also amazing in this scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really is. The other thing is, I always felt like when he was off the island, and working for her father, it made more sense for him to be like secretive. And I feel like here he doesn't have that pressure anymore. So all the more reason for him to get back to the root of why he's with Sun.
Right, I agree. Because if he was planning on delivering those watches and then starting a new life with Sun in America,
right,
you would think like day one when they crash landed, he would be like, okay, this is the perfect time for me to tell you all the shit that's been going down with your dad. Like, we're on an island so far away from everything.
Right. Or even like before you got on that plane, be like, this is it. This is the last thing I'm doing for him. And then we're out of here.
Right.
Communication. Never the forte on Lost.
Guys.
By the fire, Shannon approaches Saeed and she kisses him, saying everybody gets a new life on this island and she would like to start now. And this scene is so beautiful. I love the way it's shot.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I like them together. I don't know what's happening, but...
This is like, me and Charlie.
Yeah.
Never before have I really gotten Charlie, but now I'm Team Charlie all the way.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm Team Shannon and Saeed all the way, but I definitely enjoyed them a lot this episode.
It is interesting, though, how when you watch a show like this and you really, like, study it minute per minute, it changes your perception of pretty much everything.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like, even the things that I'm not changing my mind on, I'm still thinking about it a little differently.
Yeah.
Walt is setting up his backgammon game when Locke approaches. He says that Hurley owes him $83,000 and he's going to give him a chance to win it back. Locke smiles, saying it's been a while since they've played. Michael is down by the beach, but Walt isn't allowed to leave the caves after dark. Of course, you know.
Yeah, and he seems to be totally alone too, except for Locke. But okay.
Get away from my boy.
Yeah.
Walt asks Locke if he has a dad and if he's cool. Locke says no, and he is not cool. And guys, spoiler alert, that is super, super true.
Yeah, 1000% true.
Locke asks Walt why he burned the raft, saying he's not going to tell anyone because Walt must have had a really good reason. Walt says he doesn't want to move anymore. He likes it here. Locke smiles and says he likes it here too.
Okay, so I get why Walt would say he's tired of moving. Obviously, with his mom working in like international law, he's probably lived all over the place. That would be very annoying if you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But when he says, I like it here, what are you talking about, Walt? You're the only kid on this desert island. You've got to be so bored. Also, didn't you almost get killed by a polar bear like 2 weeks ago? Like, what? I mean, no, I do not believe this at all. Okay.
That's really funny. I hadn't even thought about that.
Ridiculous. Like when Locke says it, and I'm like, yes, obviously Locke has a good reason for enjoying his time on the island. Walt, no, makes no sense to me.
Well, I think Walt has been through so much change so quickly that he just doesn't want any more change. He just wants things to stay the same. And there are no other kids, but he definitely sees Locke as his friend. And like, they're little BFFs. It's undeniable.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine any kid who would actually want to stay on a desert island. Like, that sounds ridiculous. But Walt is not just an ordinary kid. He's supposed to be special, just like Locke. And maybe he feels some sort of connection with this place, too.
Yeah, it's just, it leaves me unsettled because I also, if Walt does feel this way and that he's sick of moving and that he really does like his new life on the island, I mean, he could have just had a conversation with Michael instead of setting fire to his raft. Like, that's something about that. I mean, someone could have died. That was a huge fire. It's so dark to me.
It is, but I think it's the most innocent way this could have happened because he's just a kid. Like, he's not thinking somebody could die from this. He's just thinking, I don't want to go. And just he could just think that for like 5 minutes and do something totally rash, like set the raft on fire. And he could be regretting it this whole time. Like, he looks so upset. Like, we see him throw sand on the fire, not 5-10 minutes later, because Michael is freaking out and he's realizing kind of what he's done. And I just feel like he's a child and he just, kids don't have impulse control. They just kind of do. You know?
But to set the raft on fire. Something about the fire thing just really bothers me. It's so, I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. But
I mean, it's a huge deal for sure. But I think he's the only one who could have done this, and I would find it forgivable. Because I'm like, you are just a kid,
Yeah, I mean, it is forgivable. It's just alarming to me. Now I feel like, especially, and I love the way that the scene is shot with Locke. I like when they have scenes together, but now I'm getting kind of the same feeling I have towards Locke. I feel like Walt is very volatile. I don't really trust him. Mm-hmm. It's just, the whole thing is a little alarming to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, I still don't believe him when he says, I like it here. Like, okay, Locke. I mean, Walt. Whatever.
I don't see why you like it here when your dad is always bossing you around and then leaving you alone.
Right. Except for Vincent, like, what do you have going on here that's...
He's throwing knives with Locke.
I guess.
Super fun.
Lord.
And I think he's enjoying building the raft with his dad. Enjoying spending time with him.
Do you think so?
I think he is... Well, okay. I think he is by the end of the episode, but I don't think so before he burns the raft.
Right.
Back on the beach, Michael is working on the raft when Jen approaches with building materials and says, boat. The two get to work. We get a lovely musical montage courtesy of Hurley's headphones. Shannon and Saeed are sitting together happily, and Sun is wearing a bathing suit without a tarp covering her as she walks into the ocean. Charlie sits with Claire, and then Hurley's CD player runs out of batteries, and he steals Sawyer's line with a half-hearted son of a bitch as the episode ends quietly.
It's my favorite ending.
Really? Like, ever?
I mean, maybe not ever. There's lots I don't remember, but it's one of my favorite ones.
It's really good. Sun's shot is just wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that with her dropping the big, I don't know what you even call it. What is she holding? Like some sort of like blanket or something. She drops it behind her and just looks so free and happy.
Yeah, it feels like she's kind of reached a new place in her character.
Yeah, because now she can be honest with everybody.
Yeah.
As much as she and Jen are kind of in a bad place right now, at least now he knows her big secret.
But yeah, I like the gesture that Jen is helping Michael build a new raft. He didn't have to do that, Well,
I feel like he wants to get out. I see this as like escapism.
I see it as like just more evidence that he's a good person.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a mix of both because it'll make amends with Michael and also get him away. Like he just, a couple times in this episode, he's run away. He seems to just want to get out.
Yeah.
So you're going to be disappointed in me with this big question.
Okay.
I just completely regurgitated one from Tabula Rasa.
Okay, well, I feel like mine is very similar to one I had earlier, so.
I just feel like it was the same conundrum where we're asking if you can start your life over again.
Yeah, I wrote the exact same thing, so don't feel bad.
Okay, because they hit it so hard that I was like, I'm not even going to consider other ones because it has to be this.
Yeah, that was clearly the most important thing they were trying to answer, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we have Shannon who is starting over by being helpful, by ignoring Boone's annoyances, by being with the man she wants to be with. Locke and Walt want to start over just by being on this island and embracing it. Michael is literally forced to start over on his raft project. And then Jen, who can't seem to take that step to start over. He's so hurt and betrayed by Sun, and I think he's haunted by the things that he's done. So it's too hard to let go of just yet.
Right. It's like they need more time before they can start their relationship over.
Yeah. And I feel like he feels guilty for his past and the things he's done. in the conversation he has with his dad, he's just like, you only say these things to me because you don't understand what I have done. And I feel like he sees Sun that way too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I felt a lot of connection between him and Sawyer in Confidence Man in this episode.
Between Jin and Sawyer?
Yes. Because of them both being unable to let go of their past and like move on from it. They're both just sucked into it and feel too guilty. Like that moment with the, like, why didn't you tell anyone about the raft? Why didn't you tell anyone about the inhaler? They both, I feel like, have this masochistic problem where they feel guilty about what they've done. So whatever, you know?
Yeah. I feel like that's more strongly shown in Sawyer's character.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guilt is definitely a factor for both of them.
I think the betrayal of Sun, like, knowing English is definitely more powerful for him.
Yeah, that was like his last straw.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like, Sun is the root of all of Jin's actions, really.
Yeah.
But, so this is exactly what you said? Is that the same?
Yeah, I wrote, the question I wrote was, is it ever too late for second chances? You know, and
there you go.
Everything you talked about is what I wrote down, so.
Boom.
But yeah, it's all throughout this episode, so.
I'm starting to think that it's all throughout season 1.
Yeah, they hit it really hard.
So far, if I had to pick a theme for season 1, that's what it would be starting over. Because every time Locke gives sagely advice to someone, that's what he wants them to do.
Right. And like you said, that's what Jack says to Kate in Tabula Rasa. He's like, we all get to start over here. I don't need to know what you did in the past.
Yep. And it's true. And when anyone does that, when anyone takes that step in letting go, they're suddenly happy.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I did it in House of the Rising Sun, but I looked up their names because I don't think I did.
Okay.
And Sun's name in Korean means goodness, and Jin's means rare. So, I don't know. Take that as you will.
Interesting. I like that.
But yeah, it's a really good episode. It's really dense. And this podcast episode is really long. Holy crap, I just looked at the time.
It is really long.
Oh, God. Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
No, just, you know, I love this episode.
It's real good.
Yeah, there's so many things happening. It all comes together really well.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely one of the high points from season 1 for me.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about and so many characters involved. It's really nice. All right, I'm wrapping it up. Thank you so much for listening, you guys, and thank you for all the feedback that you've given us so far. We love your emails, Instagram comments, and of course, all the juicy questions you send our way. Our email is freckles&blondie@thelostpodcast.com if you have more to add. If you would like to support this show, then please head over to iTunes, rate, review, subscribe to us there. It's also helpful if you thumbs up the reviews that are already there that you agree with. But of course, a new review from you is even better. You can also send us $1 a month or so, whatever you can afford, through Patreon to help cover the costs of making an almost 2-hour show like this one every week. You would be surprised how these money things add up, and we'd certainly appreciate your help. Is there like an unannoying way of asking people for money?
Nope, I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but there it is. Next week we are finally getting a Hurley episode in the 18th episode of Lost, Numbers, and I cannot freaking wait.
Yeah, it's another great episode.
Every time when Lost was airing, an episode about Hurley would start, I was always like, yes!
Yeah, they're fantastic.
They're just always so fun.
They are.
So I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Until then, I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Randy.
And this has been Freckles and Blondie. What up, guys? Welcome back. I have to redo that.
Goodness.